Imagine getting paid just for sharing your thoughts on products and services you use every day. With Survey Junkie, it's that simple. Click on the link in the video description to discover how you can start earning today by taking surveys.
On the streets of Wolverhampton, four hooded teens stand behind a drill rapper who sings about speeding in cars, abusing women, and getting revenge on those who cross him. In the city center, secondary school kids dressed in all-black designer gear and shiny puffer jackets are seen lurking on street corners at 11 p.m. On the estates, residents complain of rundown housing, drug problems, and balaclava-clad kids tearing around on e-scooters and bikes. It is symbolic of the gang culture that nurtured and groomed Britain's youngest knife killers, aged 12. The pair cut down 19-year-old Sean Sisahai with a machete in a park where families play and schoolchildren take shortcuts home. Today, we can reveal that the boy who owned the blade that killed aspiring engineer Sean was running with a gang which revels in guns, knives, drugs, and drill music. They were at war with a rival mob in an area of Wolverhampton where a corner shop was found to be illegally selling knives, and three gun-toting gangsters last year hit two kids with stray bullets in a playground during a daylight shootout. A source close to the gang told us of the boy who had the machete. He was only a little lad but was being groomed for bigger things. He had a bit of a troubled background but went totally off the right path when he got involved with older members of the gang. Our investigation also uncovered 3 serious knife crimes, including yobs confronting a pregnant woman, in the city in the past 2 months. Wolverhampton falls under the West Midlands police area, now the knife crime capital of the UK with 180 blade offences per 100,000 people. Sean was stabbed in a park in November last year, with his assailants blaming each other for the attack. The pair are now the UK's youngest killers since 10-year-olds Robert Thompson and John Venables murdered James Bulger, too, in 1993. The tragedy began when one of the young thugs shoulder-barged Sean on the Stolon playing fields in East Wolverhampton. While his pal managed to flee, Sean was punched, kicked, stamped on and chopped at with the weapon with such ferocity the blade almost passed through his body. The family of the second boy claim he was led into trouble by his gang member pal, who was so obsessed with knives he even drew pictures of them in police custody. He had a bit of a troubled background but went totally off the right path when he got involved with older members of the gang. Whatever the truth of that terrible day, the slaying has put the UK's knife crime epidemic back in the spotlight. The second boy's grandmother told our channel, "We don't care what his family says, we know the truth of what happened. He wasn't in trouble before he met this boy." Sean's family had moved to Birmingham from Anguilla in the Caribbean so he could have cataract surgery. Meanwhile, the baby-faced gang member convicted of his murder had a fractured upbringing. In the streets where he grew up, locals gave insight into how the boy, who 2 years ago was still playing kids' computer game Minecraft, became a callous killer capable of pushing a machete so hard through his victim's back it pierced his heart. Neighbors say the youngster lived with his gran after his mother could not cope. The grandmother told residents they moved into the area to escape trouble after the boy became involved in another Wolverhampton gang. Locals say he was trouble from the start. One man put up CCTV and placed razor wire on his fences to stop the youngster from climbing into his property. He said he was a bloody nightmare. The cops and social services were constantly at the house. One night, the cops had just left after bringing him home at about 11 p.m. and a McDonald's was delivered to the door shortly after. I couldn't believe it, he was being rewarded for being bad. He broke into a garden across the way and nicked the guy's scooter when he was 11 years old. Police used to bring him back late to the house just about every night. His gran has no control over him. He was never punished because she was so soft with him. One night, the cops had just left after bringing him home at about 11 p.m. and a McDonald's was delivered to the door shortly after. I couldn't believe it, he was being rewarded for being bad. Another neighbor told us, he was only 12 but had a real arrogant swagger about him and could stare down any adult. Other lock.